Welcome to Healing Your Families. I help parents go from that frustration, stress, and overwhelm to calm, confidence, and joy so they can achieve the quality of family life that they desire. I made an observation in my years as a school teacher that many of our children lack confidence. I finally decided that the most important thing we can teach them is to believe in themselves. And I am so excited to have met a mother who did just that. Her name is Sabrina Be Salmi. She lives in the UK. I'm excited to have her here, but she raised not only 5 children, but 5 children who all have that entrepreneurial spirit, that great confidence. Now, she's also a Mother of the Year award winner, and she was ranked number 2 as the most influential woman in the UK. She's achieved a lot on her own, so I know she set the right example for her children. But I am so excited to learn more about how she is raising her children. Sabrina, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So am I. So, okay. The first thing I am dying to know, well, I know your example is a lot. Yeah, you set the example, but how else? What else did you do to raise these remarkable children?
I think one of the things I had to do is sack myself as their CEO. I think that children are the most wondrous beings on the earth. And I realized that I wasn't their parent to tell them and dictate to them where they had to go and who they were. I was the steward of a young soul that was far wiser than I was. And I had to surrender to what they had to bring forth in their individual beings. And it was amazing.
I love that. I love that term. You said the steward of a young soul. So, yes. So you were looking to help them identify their strengths, help them bring out the best in them?
Yes, absolutely. I think quite interestingly enough, I remember very vividly being in my eldest daughter's room, and we were just having a conversation. We were talking about like, what's your superhero skills? And all 5 of them were firing off, and their eyes started to twinkle, and they couldn't get their voices out there trying to shout over each other with the excitement. And that really taught me something. It taught me the reality that as parents, it's not so much that we have to do the teaching. We just need to create a safe space for them to feel safe enough to come out and share with us what they already know.
So creating that safe space so they can develop. I love that. Now tell us more about your children. If you could share like their ages. I know each one has their own endeavor.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's Lachey. Lachey's now 22. So Lachey was the one that taught me courage. When I was a young mum, she would always say, "Mummy, I'm strong." And I wasn't feeling very strong there, but she definitely spoke words into me as a mother. She's very much into videography and photography as a young girl, and she really is passionate about cultural connectivity, so much so that she had a hobby for Korean language and culture. She taught herself the language. She actually ended up going there for her birthday, just a mother and daughter trip. She received an award from the First Lady of South Korea. Her work has been recognized through the Korean Cultural Center and the government organization. And it really blew me away. Here's a young lady, and she was just a manifester. You have Trey Sean. Trey Sean, his nickname is the Money Man. Everything about money. He says something, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. He loves giving back. He likes the freedom that money gives. And he pretty much got away with a lot. He was my troublesome child that always expanded the boundaries. And anytime I was trying to discipline him or teach him a lesson, the lesson actually turned around and ended up blowing up in my own face, which was quite funny. So Trey Sean has always been into numbers, mathematics, and he would chase me around the house for math challenges, and I used to run away. I used to run away because they weren't double digits, they weren't triple digits. I'm talking about 8 or 9 or 10 digits, and I'm not I'm not attached to maths like that. He ended up appearing on a show called The Child Genius. He also done a TED talk, and he really took thought beyond what thought once was, and taught us about financial freedom, you know, generational wealth. Lachey has a publishing house called Stepping Stone Publishing. Trey Sean has Influencer Publishing. Then on to Yasmin. Yasmin is 15, just turned 15 last week actually. She's all about love, kindness. She loves animals, about forgiveness, and she really taught me the purity of love. From a young age, she always just came to me and say, "Mummy, you've got to love more." And I remember a little story that I always tell people, that I remember myself and her father having an argument, and she would turn around to me and say, "Daddy, Mum, you just need to love Daddy a bit more." And I'm going, "Yasmin, I don't feel like loving Daddy right now." And she says, "But you just need to." And I was just always astounded by how much love she would pour, how much care. Such a beautiful young lady. Then you have Paolo. Yasmin does have her own publishing house called The Choice Is Yours Publishing. But then you have Paolo. Paolo is the founder of Adventurous Publishing. If you have watched Flintstones, Paolo was my bam bam baby. Bam bam everywhere. He would bang into rooms, bang into things, break everything in the house. And my world got turned right around when I had my boys. So Trey Sean prayed for a brother, and did he get a brother? Okay, they were bam bam in my life completely. Paolo always liked to break rules. If you say don't go over there, he wants to know what's over there. But what was really remarkable, from a very young age, anywhere we decided to travel to, Paolo was always able to get us there. If we got lost, we didn't need a sat nav, we just needed Paolo. And I always found that very fascinating. Even to this very day, he's now 13. If we lose something in the house and we can't find it, we say, "Can we call Paolo? Paolo, can you find it?" He's like a sniffer dog. I don't know how he does it, but he manages to home in on where this item is, whatever it is you're looking for. And then Paolo actually planted 10,000 trees out in Tanzania. So he's very into reforestation and clean water. He's an ambassador for a Water to Go company. And then we have little Amir. Amir's the youngest. He's my baby. He is now 9. He's not so much of a baby anymore. He is the founder of I Am Publishing House, and he tells on all of his siblings. So if you know what's going on in the house, Amir will spill the beans. Give him a sweet, sit him down for a moment, and he will tell everything they've said not to tell. So we keep saying to him, "You can't really always tell on your siblings, just tell Mummy."
So tell me, the youngest one, you said he's with publishing, so he helps, is he into helping people write books?
Absolutely. So all 5 of them have their own publishing houses. So Amir's one is called I Am Publishing, and he's published 6 books on affirmation and 1 on chess. And then Paolo has Adventurous, Yasmin has The Choice Is Yours, Trey Sean has Influencer, and Lachey has Stepping Stones Publishing.
Well, I'm listening as you talk, and I'm hearing this common thread of what I see as humility. You were open to learning from your children, even when you thought, you mentioned your oldest son and how you felt like, I've got to teach him this, and you were the one who ended up learning. So I think that's profound. I think sometimes parents enter with the idea that they need to be in charge, they need to have all the answers. But I absolutely love this approach of being open to learn from them.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad you picked up on that. And I think, interestingly enough, on our journey, sometimes I had to surrender because it just made sense. I remember Lachey, Lachey was my first child. We always say she's the experiment child. So while I was out doing my personal development, business, I remember I had to homeschool Lachey because she was going through severe bullying at school. And I remember bringing her along on this weekend, and we came back and she had to go to school. I remember her saying to me, "I had an amazing weekend. I learned more over the weekend than I have years in school." And don't get me wrong, I had nothing against school. but I wanted to inspire my children, but I didn't realize the impact. And she said, that's it. I don't need to go to school anymore. And I was like, no, 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 you need to go to school, please. Please go to school, because I don't have a plan yet. We're still learning. I'm still figuring this out. And she's the eldest one. I hadn't been along this journey. And I remember me and my daughter meeting head to head. You see, sometimes in parenting, we're going to hit those milestones where we think we know it all and we're really scared, and our children are like, no, you don't need to be scared, come this way. And I was petrified. I didn't want her to leave school because I wanted her to have a plan. And what I remember saying to my daughter is, give mummy some time, come up with a plan, do your GCSEs at least, and we can figure something out. And lo and behold, we had a bit of a battle. She managed to go through her GCSEs, and it was the same battle for A levels. And she said, that's it. I know exactly what I need to do. If you can't answer this for me, I'm leaving. And she said, why am I in school? I said, so you can learn. She said, but I learn on the weekend. And I've got mentors and I've had work experience. I said, okay, but you have to go to school. She said, but why are you sending me to school? We go from primary school to secondary, secondary to college, college to university, and then we hope that we can get a job. But most people I know are still stacking shelves, mum. And I said, yeah, but that's not how it works out for everyone. You need to have a backup plan. And she said, but I'm still in school and I've made connections and I know what I'm doing. I've got a plan. So why am I in school? And I said, give me some time. Let me figure this out. So they will challenge us to go beyond what we once understood. And being a mother really expanded my own awareness about what was possible in life.
I'm curious, how old was she when you were having this conversation, when she was persuading you that she could learn more outside of school?
So she must have been around 12, 13. So I remember she published her book when she was about 11 and Trey was 7. They did a co-authoring. And I remember as she started to go to these events, she just started to become very frustrated with going to her particular school because there was so much fear mongering that you can't become this, you can't do this. And she said, no, you don't, because I go and learn that over the weekend. So I know I can be, do and have whatever I desire. And it was just amazing to see that power and conviction in a young person.
Okay, now I'm thinking a couple of things need to take place here for this to happen. One, you had the connections. It sounds like you were exposing them to writing books, publishing companies, and attending events that taught them to set lofty goals. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I think that just being honest and transparent with the audience, it was at a period of time where I was learning also. So although they had these mentors and they had these amazing dreams and they were starting to meet people that once upon a time were just a book or just on YouTube or just on the TV, right? And they were meeting these people face to face. So what happened for my children very quickly was a slower process for me because I still had my own, unconscious blueprints and programmings and belief systems and thinking, well, it can't be that easy. And they said to me, Mum, why not? We will show you. And I was like, what's going on? Because I started writing my book first. And then it was like, my daughter said, well, I can do that. And why do old people, she was young and she said, Mum, why do you old people all gather together and have these long meetings about books? It's really simple. It isn't that hard. We do that all day at school. We write stories, we draw pictures. And I was like, you're so cheeky. That's not how you describe us. But what I love about children is that they simplify the process. Sometimes we have such a complexity around how we create, around how we manifest, around how things need to show up. And if you speak to us, if you've got the blessing of having a young 3-year-old or 5-year-old in your life, you'll realize they have such simplicity around solving some problems that seem quite complex for us adults.
I totally agree with you there. And I also love, another thing I highly recommend to parents is involve them in your life. Let them be a part of what you do. Share your values, your interests, your passions. And that sounds like exactly what you did. You just kind of took them into your life, your own personal growth journey. And I totally agree. Children learn quicker. They don't have the hang-ups. They have to be taught to doubt themselves or fear. So your children are saying, oh yeah, we can do this. This is easy. They were much more open.
100%, absolutely, so much so. And what I really love what you said, because that was a turning point for me as a parent. You know, when I got into this world of personal development, there's a lot of talk around this work-life balance. Now, let's just keep it real, okay? I was a hot mess. There was no balance. There was no work-life balance. I came rushing in from school run, rushing out to clients, rushing out, managing my business. It looked okay in the eyes of everyone else, but I felt like a hot mess. And what you touched on was really the difference that made a difference for us as a family, is that I had to learn to create a lifestyle. I had to stop clocking in as mom and clocking out as business lady. I had to get rid of like 120 different hats and just say, guys, come and join me on this journey, because I might be off a weekend and I come home and I'm high-fiving or clapping and doing all these processes, and my family looking at me going, are you okay? Have you joined a cult? Have you gone crazy? So I had to really integrate and create a lifestyle. We had to start having family meetings. We had to sit around the table. I had to start saying, if everything I'm doing is for my children, why don't they have a seat at the table? Why am I just hypothesizing? It's like us sitting here this evening or wherever you are in the world, what time it is, and discussing men, and we've never invited a man to take a seat at the table. So I started to say, well, burnout is real. I hit that many times. And I started to say, well, how am I going to change this into a lifestyle? And I asked questions. Being a mother of 5, I'm not a cluster mother. I had to realize that I had to build 5 individual relationships and then integrate that so we can work as a singular one-to-one, but also as a unit. And I think that was the difference that made a difference for us as a family.
Okay, I want to latch onto that idea. Why do we feel we have to separate family and work, home and work? Why not put them together? Why not be a complete person? That's just something to chew on right there. And you did it. You did it beautifully. You incorporated, and I love that you recognized you had an individual relationship with each child. As you described them, I could tell that you quickly identified their strengths. And I'm assuming you helped them know, you encouraged them to develop their talent, what they did well. It sounds like there was a lot of communication, a lot of encouragement going on.
Absolutely. You know, I love what you've touched on as well, because during this journey of building a relationship with my children, I had to get to understand what made each one of them tick. Now, when you hear me speak about the kids, you'll realize there is a cookie cutter model going on here. They all have books, they all have a publishing house, they all speak on stage, they all have their own brand. But the unique essence is in the insertion of their individual personalities. And what that meant is that they had to have their own immersive experiences. They had to have their own individual mentors. And that was a game changer, because when you started to see the likes of Paolo and Amir being at a university and delving into STEM and their siblings coming along to support them, you got to see the two of them in a very different light. You started to see Lachey at YouTube space or in a Korean environment. And I just was like, wow, who is this young lady? She just blossomed. And the same happened for Trayshawn and Yasmin. And something very unique happens when you immerse a child into an environment of what they want to become in their future. Often children are asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? But how often do we ask them, what do you want to be now? And some of the answers that I really think are special that children always come to. So Paola has this thing that kids are masters of fun. Like, how cool is that? Children, you cannot be in a house with a child and not have some fun. You'd be like, I'm trying to work, and they'll come back, they'll throw something at you, take something from you. They just want to have fun. They have a unique way of awakening our inner child. And the other thing that children say is that I just want to be happy. Why? They ask me stuff like, why do you do that job if you don't like it? And you go, well, I don't have a choice. I need to work. And they say, why? And then you say something else and they say why, and they really get you to actually question your own why, because you then go, I don't know, give me 5 minutes, because now I'm trying to work out why am I doing what I'm doing, right? And often if you ask a child what do they want to be now, they will give you a plethora of answers, because these young people don't just have one gift. They have so many interconnected, transferable gifts as you start to unpack that little gift that's been added into your family.
That is so exciting to hear your ability to see, to deeply appreciate your children, to recognize their strengths and to rejoice in them. So how much schooling, you talked about your oldest daughter, how much schooling did her younger siblings get?
So they actually remained in school until 2019, and then I took them all out of school. Unfortunately, they went through horrific bullying issues, all of them. The area we were living in, it was pretty much a conflict resolution where it just resulted to violence. So they were subjected to all kinds of horrific attacks, and I just got quite depleted. It was 19 years of motherhood, and I just realized that it was impacting them in a really bad way, but it was also impacting me, and that it was just a time for us to actually leave school. The reason I'm giggling is because as I'm sharing this, I'm looking at Amir's profile on here. I remember taking him to school one occasion, and he was in reception. I remember him keep saying, Mummy, please homeschool me, please homeschool me. I'm like, darling, I will eventually. And he looked at me and he said, could you sort out your life so you can start doing what I need? I just went, how could you be so cheeky? And I felt it, is that he did not want to be in school. He was like, why am I here? And he said to me, Mum, I'm losing myself. And as a mother, when your child says, I'm losing myself, that awakens something. I knew I had to do something. And it doesn't mean that a school is a bad place.
No.
It just wasn't for Amir. There was something very unsettling for him. And when I said I remember when I told all of them I was homeschooling, Shay was already out of school. She was older. Trey Sean was like, absolutely not happening. I'm going back to school. He was popular at school. He wanted to be with his teenage friends. Yasmin and Paola were like, Yasmin, Paola and Amir were like, yeah, brilliant. And I remember saying, don't say anything, because I need to do some formal things before this is official. And they went back to school and said, that's it, right, we're leaving. And I was like, I told you not to say anything. So it was quite comical.
And okay, but what I'm hearing is the focus was on your children. What was best for them? You weren't worried about what other people think. You were tuned into it. Your LaShawn loved school, so yeah, great for him. And it is my observation is that for a majority of children and families, school works out great, but it isn't for everyone. The other concern I have, in the United States, in public school, the emphasis is on the curriculum, the set requirements that every student must learn. But in what you do, and there's also and some of the private schools have what they refer to as a student-centered curriculum. In other words, the curriculum revolves around the interests and abilities of the child. And that is how you raised your children. You help them identify what they were passionate about, what they enjoyed doing, what they were good at. And then you just help provide opportunities for them to develop it.
Absolutely. I love the way you said that, because that's exactly it. I think sometimes we're trying to push a square peg through a circular or triangle hole. And I remember saying to my kids, like as you were talking, I remember flashback, Yasmin in particular, she came home crying one day. We've never been a family that's really pushed for grades. I believe when a child's happy and they're in love with the subject or the discipline, how we say it, they will do their best to be their best, all right? And I remember her coming home and she burst into tears and said, would you still love me? And I was like, what's going on? What happened at school? And she says, well, if I don't pass my SATs, will you still love me? We've had a whole day at school and the teacher was talking about this and everyone was talking about SATs because it's a big thing here in the UK where they sit these SATs exams. And it broke my heart that my daughter, who came from a home where we don't talk about things like that, you are not your grades. If you get a 3 on your test out of 10 and you come home, all the ones you didn't know, we go online or we read a book and then you go, brilliant, you've got all 10. That's how we've always learned. And to hear her feel that she would not be loved if she didn't get a good grade on this test, it broke my heart. And I think it can be very damaging for some young people. And we sat down and we spoke about that, but it was such a shock for me that we don't do this at home. How did you arrive at that understanding? And it was just that pressure that was going on at school, all of the pressure on what you needed to look like and be and do and have. And it was quite the opposite. The kids at home, they thrived in their individual aspects because they fell in love with it, because they had the support, because they knew that someone's going to be standing on the side cheering them along, even if they were a leaf in the play. You know, us mums, we go along to these, you know, school plays and I'm in tears trying to see my son saying one line or singing something. And they're being made to feel that they have to be something other than their own perfectionism that they were born to our arms originally. So it's quite heartbreaking what happens in the world to them, to be honest.
It is. It is. It's really sad to think of any child being taught to define themselves by, you know, some external measure. That's heartbreaking. And sometimes as parents, we don't realize this is happening. We may not. It sounds to me like you had this close connection and there was ongoing communication. It sounds to me like you were the kind of parent your children knew they could talk to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love because my kids are on here. I remember my children being asked like some of the things that we do at home. Like sometimes we over talk, and it's sometimes to know, okay, we can talk when you're ready. You don't have to talk now. And then, you know, it turns into a family meeting. But I love what you're saying. I think it's just knowing that that talking aspect is there. And I think as the children grow, they will change. They're not always going to be constant. You know, my children have changed at different points in their lives and their needs have changed. And I think that was such a wake up call to me as a parent, that the fact that you're not just a parent constantly in the same way you was when they're young. It adapts and each child will adapt. Like you might walk in and like, I've got your favorite so-and-so, and they're like, that's not the favorite anymore. And you go, do you want to talk? And they go, not right now. And the next time they go, oh, I love you. So it's really building that bond to take you through the stages, because growing up is tough. I think sometimes we forget in society how tough it is. Me going back to my childhood, being a teenager, that was the toughest time in my life, trying to find out who I was, where I was going, what everyone expected. You know, I couldn't turn anywhere without an expectation being thrown at me, let alone the added factor of cultural expectation and societal expectation and parents and school. So I started to realize that stop saying to kids like it's just school. I hear people say, oh, it's just school, you'll get over it, it's just this. No, it's their entire world.
Yeah,
It's everything to them.
it is. It is. Sabrina, this has been amazing. Now, in the few minutes we have left, I want to hear about what you're doing, how you can help parents, and how can they contact you.
Brilliant. So we're searchable on Google. There's a website, Life According to Lachey. We've got a family page on there. We are across social media, so Sabrina Be Salmi or any of the kids' names. So what we are doing, we are working with a host of we're putting a host of family programs together. Some things around financial education, mindset. We have various masterminds for the young people so they can get together. One of the things I found on this journey with my children It's friendship. Friendship can be a very turbulent thing for young people, depending on where they live and what the community is like. But finding like-minded friends was a big challenge until they found their place, until they found their tribe. So the kids have created various mastermind groups and things that they can lead around that. We also have mentoring and coaching programs that we take parents through and the children separately and then bring them together. But to be honest, we always say to people, reach out. If there's something specifically that you have as a need, reach out. We might be able to develop a program with our team for you. We are very, very passionate around grassroots and giving back. So Trey Sean in particular, he has a purpose to transform the lives of 1 million young people by teaching them financial education. Lachey wants to deal with self-confidence and self-worth in young women, teaching them about where they come from so they know where they're going. Yasmin's on a similar journey around that, but added factor being forgiveness. So she wants to eradicate low self-esteem, teach through the teaching of self-love. Paolo wants to liberate young people and take them on journeys of self-discovery, both internally and externally. And Amir wants to put a smile on the faces of 1 million people. And he always ends that by saying, starting with you. So he wants people to smile more often. And for me as a mother, my biggest thing that I'm doing right now is that we want to get into schools so we can inspire families from the heart. Because at the end of the day, I think a bit like that work-life balance, you can inspire the child and then the parents don't really understand, or you inspire the parents and the children are on the same page. So we want to work with families as a nucleus to get them vibing on the same page. But my goal is very, very simple. How can we actually create legacy by actually infusing generational conversations so you can actually build legacy together? Each of us in a family is one unique piece to a big jigsaw piece puzzle. And if one of us is not present, it doesn't work. It can't show up. So we're saying, come to the table with the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, the brothers and sisters. I know that families, we have different things that bring us apart, but it's so important that we understand the sacredness of unifying so we can make a brighter tomorrow. So those are some of the things we're kind of working on right now. And, book publishing, there's a host of different things that we're involved in, public speaking, but the best thing to do is just reach out to our team and we could really take it from there.
All right, I know you're on LinkedIn. That's how I found you. And LinkedIn also has your website, right? If they go there, it's in your, okay. I absolutely love, right on, totally agree with you. Let's get the whole family involved. Oh, Sabrina, I wish we had longer, but thank you so much for sharing this. To my listeners, come back again next week. And we're talking about fostering confidence this month. That's our theme. And make sure you reach out to the Be Salmi family. I know I'm following several of her children on Instagram. They are amazing people. So thank you. Until next week. Let's make the world a better place by strengthening families. I'm Emily Penrod at healingyourfamilies.com.